you ready?
Ready,
Are you sure?
I guess.
Because I don't think you're ready for this.
Probably not.
I will say I think Toni Collette was robbed of an Oscar for her performance. It's
How many Oscars has she gotten?
I don't know about nominations, but I think she has one, or maybe she just has the one nomination. Let me check. If not, I think she's
She's a great actress.
yeah, she's amazing. No, she's only been nominated for Sixth Sense,
Seriously?
which I think she was okay. I think she was okay. I mean, she was good in Sixth Sense, but she was on her shit on this movie. Like, absolutely deserved at least a nomination. But I can see why they didn't, since it's a pretty out there movie. I don't see the Academy watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think only one scene is gonna be like, I regret this, but everything else is gonna be like, I think you'll enjoy. Not, I don't know about enjoy, but tolerate it.
You're really setting me up for this movie.
Do you want to read this?
Do I need to?
No. Oh shit! Why did it get all blurry? It's like a funeral ceremony letter thing. I don't know what those are called. What are they called? Eulogy? Not eulogies. Like it's like a summary of the person, right?
Yeah.
Yo, what the fuck is this quality? Hold up. I might have to reset it.
It's called an obituary.
Obituary.
There are nuts in that.
No.
Does that have nuts? Because we don't have the EpiPen.
What's the point of an EpiPen if you don't take it everywhere?
Well, I guess if you're going to a funeral and you know you're not going to eat peanuts.
If our kid had a peanut allergy, I would take an
Yeah.
EpiPen
Well, I think what's
everywhere
more concerning is how would she get a chocolate bar?
without them knowing.
Yeah, that it has peanuts in it. I think out of everything in the movie, that stuck with me the most.
Just because it's creepy or what? What? She's showing her how to breastfeed by sticking her own tit out?
Yeah. Well, she said, I think during the funeral, or was it during the funeral?
I just scared myself in the workshop.
That she insisted that she breastfeed for her daughter.
Oh, yeah.
If it's all just inevitable, then that means that the characters had no hope. They never had hope because they're all just like hopeless. They're all like pawns in this horrible, hopeless machine.
What?
That was like.
Yeah. If I got that look in school, I would have been like, I can't even find the word.
What the fuck is your problem?
Yeah, like I would have thought about it for the rest of the
Ah.
day.
What the fuck is wrong with this girl?
She's a little out there.
A little? That would be like, pretty surprising to see Vienna do something
Oh, yeah.
like that. Very concerning.
I was just thinking, like, when she was in bed and kind of acting weird, I was like, man, I really hope Vienna isn't
Like
this
that?
weird.
Yeah. What do you think of the wine?
Yes.
It's pretty good.
And she didn't have an easy life. She had DID, which became extreme at the end, and dementia. And my father died when I was a baby from starvation because he had psychotic depression. And he starved himself, which I'm sure was just as pleasant as it sounds. And then there's my brother. My older brother had schizophrenia. And when he was 16, he hanged himself in my mother's bedroom. And of course, his suicide note went to her, accusing her of putting people inside him. So.
What a fucking creeper! I just realized he was on her page. Did you see that?
I was looking at it and then forgot what it was when you said it.
It was that one girl. I never noticed that until right now.
He's creeping me out.
He's creeping you out?
Mhm.
Why?
The first shot was of him like staring at this
Oh.
girl's ass.
I mean, that's just.
I have never thought that a guy would be like staring at my ass in school, like in front of me,
That's.
like having a fucking boner right behind
I have
me.
to think he was having a boner, but it.
He was like full on staring,
Wha-
being creepy.
That's kind of how it be.
That's
I mean,
why she looked at him like that.
no, she
Well,
couldn't.
she looked at him like that because he was dumb.
Yeah.
Does she have Tourette's? She's
Mm.
weird.
Hmm.
You said,
Well, I've never thought about it because they don't really talk about it.
well, she keeps making that sound with her
Yeah.
mouth.
When I was in the theater, someone actually made it when it was like really dark, or like when it was really silent. Someone.
Creep you out?
No, I think people laughed.
Do you want to wait out here for a second?
No.
Charlie, please, just it'll be 2 minutes and then we can hang out.
Why?
Draw.
Why is she
Please,
there?
Charlie, oh shit! Look, they're giving out chocolate cake.
Dirty ass pong.
Yeah.
Peter.
Charlotte. What's up? It's okay, Charlotte. We're almost to the hospital, okay?
Why are there no lights?
Charlie!
Oh my god.
My dad literally screamed out loud in the theater when that happened.
The head part?
Yeah.
He just drives away? He's just gonna go to bed?
I mean, like, what do you do at that point?
You call 911.
To
At
do
the
what?
scene.
Well, to do what?
What do you mean to do what?
They can't put the head back on.
No, but everything will be. I mean, you don't drive home and leave the car with the freaking body.
That's the last time I saw it. I swear.
It's pretty awful. You put
Yeah.
Your mother in the ground, and then a week later, your daughter.
Yeah. I think the third time I saw this movie, that scene made me cry. And I was like, not that close, but I was kind of feeling. But I remember the trailers were mostly like of the little girl. So like everyone when they saw this movie was not expecting that, which I think is like, this is one of the best trailers to any movie, because I watched it and I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a supernatural, she's like possessed or something, but she like dies not even
Pretty
halfway through the
quickly.
movie.
I mean, the other reason why to call 911 when it happens right there, I mean, Tony Collette would not necessarily have to have seen the body
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I think it was just a situation where he was just stunned to his core, where he was just like trying to ignore it, I guess. I've kind of,
He was high, too.
yeah, he was high.
It's so weird to think about, like, high school students doing that during school, because that was just so not my
Yeah.
experience.
You never went under the bleachers to smoke?
No, I was Mormon.
I don't think I ever smoked, but I definitely drank under the bleachers.
where most of the kids are Mormon, I don't know how much that was actually happening.
Yeah. Probably just people who transferred from California.
Yeah.
I think I'm having like a reaction. My throat is. I think my throat is gonna leak. This is old man. Hold on.
Wow. How embarrassing.
Yeah. He's definitely not getting invited back.
13.
She was 13.
That's awful.
Do you not buy that?
My son and
She was like 7.
my grandson.
No, she had
4 months ago.
She had boobs.
Yeah, I was gonna say she had
One was 7.
pretty big boobs
I guess
for
the boobs,
13.
yeah.
I'll come up with you.
Okay.
I forgot they have a dog. Not that he like dies or anything. He's just they don't.
He's
I don't think.
there.
Yeah, they don't really like show him. They don't even call his name over. He's just kind of there. I think I feel mostly for this guy because he just
For the husband.
yeah. Because she kind of just goes off and does her own thing, and he's just like
Grieving on his own.
yeah, basically. Which I mean, she's had a pretty shit life too. Her brother and dad and mom dying.
Yeah.
But he's just like kind of not expected to break down as much as she does.
I don't know if I've seen her with a hairstyle that seems like it actually fits her. Like they all look like wigs.
Yeah.
I think in every role I can think of. She just needs to be bald.
Wow.
See what it looks like. Is he from Spider-Man?
Doc Ock. Look at this.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus Christ, Annie.
It's not about him.
Oh, no?
No, it's a neutral view of the accident.
Really?
Could you imagine that?
Wow.
Snare you? I don't ever snare you. Sweetie, you don't have to. You got your point across. Okay, so fine, then say what you want to say then. Hey, I don't want to say anything. I've tried saying Okay, so try again. Release yourself. Oh, release you mean? Yeah, fine, release me. Just say it. Just fucking say it. Don't you swear at me, you little shit. Don't you ever raise your voice at me. I am your mother. Do you understand? All I do is worry and slave and defend you. And all I get back is that fucking face on your face.
So full of disdain and resentment and always so annoyed. Well, now your sister is dead.
What about you, Mom? She didn't want to go to the party. So why was she there?
True.
Mhm.
We're stopping this right now. Zach. I said
That was one of my
right
first
now.
thoughts actually.
Fine.
Was that she shouldn't have even been there?
Yeah. Well, that she did not want to go and she made her. For what reason?
Fine.
Like why did she make her go to a party that she knew there would be no kids her age?
Well, I think she knew that she's weird and wanted her to just socialize.
But like a week after your grandma died and you're saying like I want grandma. Can you pause it? I need to pee.
Pee?
Yeah. Not allowed to pee? See when we'd have an intermission.
I suppose. Did you hear that Martin Scorsese and his production team is cracking down on theaters that are allowing intermissions, and they're telling him to stop because he says it's not the intended way of watching his movie and that there shouldn't be intermissions.
What?
Yeah, his 3.5-hour movie says there should be no intermissions.
Okay, go fuck yourself. Wow.
Paramount and Apple Original Films have been contacting theaters that violated their contracts by inserting intermissions into Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. According to an individual with knowledge of the situation, the Lyrica Theater in Fort Collins, Colorado, showed the historical drama with the intermission until they got in trouble with the two companies.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Is this the scene
What scene?
that you were talking about?
No, well, like the bad scene.
Huh?
No, I think the worst scene was when her head gets decapitated. I mean, this is pretty unpleasant too.
Steve, wake up.
His name is Steven.
We're gonna try something together.
That was the first time I've acknowledged that. I never do that. I think that's the only scene where they say his name.
Oh.
Yes, Peter?
I'm sorry, I have to go to the bathroom.
Of course, take a pass. As I was saying,
That's gotta be one of the worst teachers ever.
I
guess.
mean, I was just thinking the whole time,
Hello?
like, how do you not notice a kid is like
Freaked out.
something?
And then there's Morris.
Starting to
You need more than
realize
your mother's headless body. Of course.
that his whole family is just like insane.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I feel bad for this guy because
Yeah.
he's just trying to survive all of this.
I mean, the whole time I've been thinking about how the son could have schizophrenia because her brother had it. So it's
Yeah, I didn't know you can have it at 16. That's a super young age to develop that.
trauma.
Please, you gotta do it. Please, you gotta do it. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Does that have like her actual drawings in it?
Now listen to me.
Huh?
Listen to me.
Does that have her actual drawings like when she was alive?
Yeah, I think so because that was her book.
I wouldn't want to do that. Was that the rap job that the school did?
Yeah. You don't think it's good?
They didn't take him to the hospital after he did that?
Yeah, it could have been a broken nose, or maybe that is him coming back from the hospital.
What am I looking at?
Him on the floor.
It looks like he was like flattened. I thought you said the dog didn't die.
I was gonna say I don't know if he is dead there, but
Who are these naked people? His teacher?
no, I don't think so. He might have been.
You just think they're random naked people?
Well, you'll see in a second.
Hail Payman! Hail Payman! Hail Payman!
What? What?
I mean, he kind of did the same thing with Beau is Afraid, where you're left with like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, pretty much. And Midsommar, his second movie, is not much better in that regard, where it's like having some kind of closure. It's just like you're just left there, like, what the fuck am I?
Well, I mean,
supposed
as
to do
soon
with
as I
this?
saw like the book where she said needs a male
host.
I knew it was him.
Yeah.
And so through all of that ending, I mean, you kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah. I think this movie's a lot scarier the second time you watch it, just because you're not really constantly trying to figure out what's next and where it's going, and you know you already have all the pieces, and you're just kind of connecting them on the second viewing. And this is probably my 5th time watching this movie.
So what do you get out of it?
I mean, I think maybe because I've watched it every single time high, I kind of maybe forgot a lot of things. Like I forgot there was a dog. I just completely that just was a
left your mind.
Yeah, like that was a complete shock to me. The dad's name is Steven. Not once did I know that. Could have put a gun to my head and I wouldn't have been able to tell you what his name was. And yeah, this is just like small things that I didn't notice, and I think I've kind of picked up each time I've watched it. I think the scariest or the most it's impacted me was probably the second or third time I watched it.
Was that in theater or?
I watched it twice in theaters. I watched it with Fern and Chewy at first, and then I watched it with my dad, like a week later. And I think I cried the third time during the scene where she's grieving and she's screaming. Just
that was when I got choked up.
Yeah, because
just thinking about your own experience if that were to happen.
Yeah, and it's just like such a visceral like reaction. Like I don't know. It's. I think.
Didn't he have a moment like that in Beau's Afraid?
Where what?
I'm just thinking like. Yeah. There was that moment where the lady from The Office.
Oh yeah.
Found her daughter dead. Whoops, spoiler.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was trying to think of what scene you're talking about. Yeah. When she pours paint all over the room. Yeah, and she starts screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is kind of that moment. I think at that scene too, it kind of got to me, but I think it mostly is.
He's got issues.
Yeah, I think it's attributed. I mean, that scene specifically is to Toni Collette, just how masterfully she portrays that emotion.
Really good.
But yeah, I think Ari Aster has some deep
issues.
Yeah, like I think Beau's Afraid kind of encapsulates everything.
Because this is my second Ari Aster movie.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of similarities. At
oh
least
yeah,
in, like,
yeah.
The story or
there's
the reason why he includes this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think towards the end, and it was funny because I think it was either the first or second time, where Toni Collette is like crawling in air. You know what I'm talking about?
I saw it.
Yeah, where she's like kind of crawling in the middle of the air.
I figured that might mean that she was dead.
I'm not sure what it meant, but in the theaters, people were laughing.
Laughing at
people
that?
were genuinely laughing out loud. And then when they were naked in the attic, and then he jumps out, people laughed at that scene. And then when she was like,
I mean, it is ridiculous. Like all of a sudden, there's naked people.
Yeah, and then she's floating into the treehouse. People were laughing. Like people were taking it as a comedy.
That's the same thing as in Beau Was Afraid. I probably shouldn't be like.
Well, I mean, I could add that it's spoiler talk for that movie.
But at the end, where it's like you can kind of see these things being true. I mean, in a sense of like it's possible that it could be real, and then all of a sudden at the end it's just like.
Yeah, I think this is the most grounded in reality this movie is, or out of all his movies, because in the second movie or Midsommar, I think from the jump it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And Beau Is Afraid is obviously from the beginning, like with the whole his apartment getting invaded, like it's kind of like
you're kind of like that wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
but
it's
you
just
can imagine that it might in the mind of somebody with
mental illness. Yeah.
So you're thinking the whole time, like, what aspect of this is actually real? How much of this is from the perspective of, I mean, it's 100% from the perspective of somebody with mental
The character,
illness.
yeah. But this movie is the most grounded in reality from the beginning, at least. It feels like a traditional, like, family, like, typical suburban, like, horror movie where it's pretty formulaic at the beginning. Like, you don't really, if you watch any other horror movies from the 2000s that are centered around paranormal stuff, it kind of plays out the same until her head gets chopped off from the pole. I think that's when it kind of takes a turn into a different kind of approach. But for the most part, the first quarter of the movie is
don't
pretty
really know where it's going.
Yeah, it's kind of like play by play, like kind of a traditional horror movie or horror setup. And then I think past that point, it progressively gets more and more amped up into like obscurity and like craziness, until the point where like there's naked cult members in the house. And
I just feel like I can expect that from Ari Aster at this point.
Yeah,
I can expect crazy, weird things.
I think that's why, like, when we watched Beau's Afraid and the penis monster came out, I was like kind of already not ready for it, but I embraced it.
Yeah.
I think when you've watched it, you were like, what the fuck is this guy thinking, putting a penis monster in this movie?
Think because what I was going to say was, up until that point, there is a part of you that is thinking, like, I can be in this world with somebody with mental illness. Like, I can see how this can, like, actually happen to somebody, or like the way that they're thinking. But then all of a sudden, this big giant penis monster in the attic, and you're just like, where the fuck did that come from? Just the same as like her floating. And yeah, I mean, most of it you are thinking, like, where is schizophrenia playing a role in this?
Yeah, that was also another thing I didn't really like. I mean, I've seen the movie 4 times, and I've heard her beginning monologue when she's in the support group and she's talking about her brother having schizophrenia at 16. And I never really like, I think after Beau Was Afraid, it kind of made me think about it in that perspective, where like, had it been my first time watching this movie, I could have been open to like this all being in Toni Collette's head, or all being in Peter's head. And the movie is called Hereditary, and it kind of, I mean, that's what mental illness is. It's hereditary. Like, it passes from generation to generation.
I think that's what this movie is about.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of it, it's just kind of brought together in this like satanic cult theme. But at the end of the day, it is kind of touching on mental illness and what it's like to inherit that.
Yeah,
for sure. And I don't think that's something I picked up on the first 3 times I watched this.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part, because it's also like Peter, you talk about like, you don't know that people can get schizophrenia at 16. Some people do, because of the trauma that they go through in their life.
Yeah.
And that event of like killing his sister was probably the final straw.
Yeah, I mean, that would do it for sure.
Yeah.
And if it runs in your family, that could definitely...
Especially in that manner. Like,
yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of totally shuts down after that, and then starts having...
like hallucinations and nightmares.
Yeah. And then Toni Collette, what is her... Annie. Annie
kind of
has had schizophrenia for a long time, undiagnosed.
Yeah.
Is what it would seem like.
Yeah. It kind of like plays on what it would be like if you had schizophrenia, but like the twist is that they don't have it, and that there actually is a cult or like a demonic force or whatever.
You think that's the twist?
Well, not the twist, but like it's like...
Okay, yeah. What does the end mean?
I don't know, because I think they definitely like are very... I mean, if you know anything about cults and the demon that they're...
Oh, I know a lot about cults.
Yeah, well, obviously, but I mean, like, with that. I can't remember the fucking demon's name. Satoni? No, that's not what it's called.
That was the first name scratched into the wall.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of that was also something I didn't really notice the first 3 times. I mean, I noticed that there was writing on the wall, but I didn't remember there being so much writing. There was like 6 names.
Several names, yeah.
Yeah, I
That
remember.
all didn't really make sense.
I remember there being like 2, but I don't remember there being that many. I think there's.
Who was scratching the names?
I don't know. I don't think they say.
They
I mean,
never
because
say.
like, who also put the grandma's body in the attic?
Annie.
You think Annie?
I think Annie.
Well, because in the like pretty early on in the movie, after the funeral, the Steven gets a call and was like desecrated.
Right.
And he was like, who would do that?
Yeah.
And then, obviously, like, you know, a couple acts later, they show what actually happened. Not what actually happened, but
Well, if
what
you
they
know
what he
what
meant by that call.
Desecrated means.
Isn't
you can
that?
Guess.
Yeah.
But it would either be Annie or Peter.
Yeah.
Because I guess at the end of the movie, yeah, whose perspective is this truly from?
Mm-hmm.
And with what's his name, Peter becoming king,
Yeah.
you wonder if it's. But then Joni also calls Peter Charlie.
Oh yeah.
Charlie wasn't supposed to be. That's why Grandma wanted her to be a boy.
Yeah. Did she say that in the sport group?
No, Charlie said that.
Oh yeah, she wanted me to be a boy or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. When she's pouting in the bed.
So that's why the grandma wanted to feed her.
Yeah.
So really we're starting with schizophrenia and the grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Believing this like whole king, what was it?
Pagan or something?
No.
It starts with a P.
Yeah, it starts with a P. King P.
King P.
But wow.
Yeah, I think.
So then when Peter jumps out the window, is that to say that he died?
I think so. And then they have the orb.
The orb. And that's supposed to be Charlie entering Peter.
Yeah.
But then it's also that Joni was, what, a daughter? Because didn't she say, my mom embroidered these welcome mats?
Did she say that?
She says something about how she got that mat. And I want to say it was that her mom embroidered them.
This was filmed in Utah.
That's not surprising.
So
Actually, at the funeral, I was like, those look like Utah mountains.
Ari Aster liked Utah for the film because he thought its mountains are beautiful and breathtaking, but also menacing and ominous.
Yeah.
So I think this is the closest.
You weren't listening to anything I was saying.
Yeah. What are you talking about? I was just trying to find the name. Pagan. I think it's pagan.
It's not pagan.
It's not pagan?
No.
What do you think it is?
It has an M in it.
Payman.
So is it from Charlie's perspective? Or Peter's? And then Peter becomes Charlie.
King Payman.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
then Joni, I was talking about Joni. Is she a sister?
I think she's just, at the end of the day, she is involved in the cult because she was in the pictures. She was in the book.
Yeah.
She had her own welcome mat. I'm assuming it was just.
They were in the same cult.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was just a cult and the grandma was like the leader or like.
It said Queen Lee.
Yeah, she was like the queen, the closest to the actual payment or whatever. And I guess her mission was to birth Payman, but it took 2 generations to get a boy because she had her daughter and then she had her son, but he killed himself. And then her daughter had a girl, or no, a boy.
Had a boy.
but she wasn't around during that time. Because she says, I wouldn't let my mom around when Peter was alive. And then she said she had contact when Charlie was around, and she like got her hooks into her immediately.
Wow.
But I think at the end of the day, I think what I appreciate most is just how like fucked up Ari Aster his mind is.
Truly fucked up.
Yeah, and I mean, you haven't even seen Midsommar, which is like, it's another cult movie, but it's more like on the nose, and it's like, its imagery in that movie is pretty fucked up, and it's like,
I think his intention is to have you sit and think about all the
oh,
different
absolutely,
possibilities of that scene and why the reason why it happened or whatever.
yeah, and to shock you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember when this movie came out, everyone was talking about her getting decapitated. Like, that was the main focus of the movie.
Yeah.
Because it's like
the biggest shock.
Yeah, because everyone saw the trailers. Everyone saw that she was in most of the the scenes.
See the trailer.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, it's gonna be about the little girl and like how she's possessed or whatever, kind of like The Exorcist or whatever. And then she dies like not even halfway through the movie. It's like such a big kind of blow.
Yeah. And that's the scene you were talking about?
Yeah, I was like, I think out of everything that would disturb you the most is her getting decapitated, and then maybe Toni Collette sawing off her head. Which, this was another thing I didn't notice, is that everyone needed to have their head decapitated. The mom, the grandma, and Charlie.
Yeah, they all had it.
Yeah, they all had to be decapitated.
Well, I was looking at
I'm not sure why,
last
but
statue, and it was one of their heads.
It was Charlie's head, yeah.
It was Charlie's head?
Yeah. That was on the little scarecrow thing.
Yeah.
In the attic or in the treehouse. Yeah, that was Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely makes you think.
Yeah, he is by far my favorite director, I think. And I think this is the closest movie that society has produced, or this generation has produced, to like The Exorcist. I mean, obviously neither of us were around during The Exorcist, but like The Exorcist was like a groundbreaking movie that like kind of shook everyone to the core.
Never saw it.
You know, I mean, yeah, I saw it way after, like in the 2000s, so I didn't really have the effect.
When did it come out?
Like 70. But most people contribute it to be the best horror movie of all time. I think it's a little dated. I don't think it's bad. I think it holds up pretty well, and its themes are pretty, I wouldn't say relevant, but like it still gets to you for sure. But I think an audience's reaction has not had as big of a reaction or as big as an impact as this movie has had. I mean, most horror movies nowadays, and when this came out, kind of just come and go. Like, it's just typical, like not really that big of an impact. But when this came out, it was like, I wouldn't say on the same level as The Exorcist, because there wasn't really movies out like that during that time, but it was probably the closest that this generation will ever get to that kind of hype and praise and shock that The Exorcist had. And I think at some point we'll watch The Exorcist for sure, but yeah, I thought you might appreciate it since you already saw Beau's Afraid. I think I'm not sure how you would have reacted had you saw Hereditary first and then Beau's Afraid, because I think Beau's Afraid is a lot different but pretty similar at the same time. I think I mean that movie out of the gate, like I said, is just pandemonium, like just crazy
anxiety.
Yeah, and like just
I think that's the other. I mean, it does kind of make you curious to watch his other movies if he focuses on different mental illnesses in each one.
Yeah.
Or if it's the same.
I think Beau's Afraid and this one, I think, are the most commentary on mental illness. Midsommar is more just like a straight up cult movie, like just about cults. I mean, I haven't seen it in a minute, and I also saw both times I saw it, I was high, so I might have interpreted it a little bit different, but interpreted it a little bit differently. But I just think what.
You did that before, and I corrected you, and you still can't.
Well, because I don't know how to pronounce big words like that. Interpreted.
There you go.
I don't know how I interpreted. I don't know how I interpret. I don't know how I interpret. How do, what? Am I not saying? Is it interpret? It's interpret. Interpreted. I don't know how to fucking say words like that.
Okay, move on.
What?
Move on. Oops.
Well, I don't know how to perceive that. Because I mean, I was pretty young when both of these movies came out.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really facing my mental illnesses, like, so, because I had seen or heard people talk about like the mental illness about Hereditary, but when I first watched it, I did not like pick up
on
any of like oh, this is a commentary or a piece on mental illness. And then now that I'm watching it after my journey with dealing with my mental illness, like, oh, it's so fucking clear. Like, obviously he's talking about, you know, mental illness and inheriting it and it going from generation to generation.
Right.
But when I first saw that, I was completely naive and high.
And that's probably how most people look at it.
Oh yeah, because
would be my guess.
I think this is his most praised movie because it's by the book, like the most horror movie. Because like Midsommar is more like, I wouldn't say psychological, but it's more like, it's less traditional in horror. Like Fern and Chewie do not like that movie at all. They think this is his best movie. Fern was like, I don't like Midsommar. It's too out there. It's too not horror. And I think I was kind of the same. I think I appreciate it more now.
I guess I'm curious to know if he does have more aspects within his. I mean, does he claim to be like a horror movie writer?
I don't think he's ever claimed it, but he obviously is. I mean, he has horror elements in everything he's made. He has a short film called There's Something About the Johnsons, I think is what it's called. And he uses that same actor, the dad in that short film, for his short film Beau, which I'm really curious on what the short film Beau is about. But he has a short film called There's Something About the Johnsons, and the movie starts out with his son jacking off under his bed or under his sheets. He's just jacking off, and then his dad walks in. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and he's like, "This is perfectly normal for a kid your age." And then it pans over, and the picture he's jacking off to is a picture of his dad.
I think you've shown me this.
I don't think I showed you the. I think I've explained it to you.
You told me about it.
Yeah.
At least.
I think probably after Beau's Afraid, I was like, "This is how fucked up Ari Aster is."
I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah, because then that's how the movie starts, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is vile," and then like it cuts to him getting sexually assaulted by his son, and then he's at like the reception for the wedding, and he's still like abusing his dad, and he's like forcing his dad to give him a blowjob. They don't show it, but they like imply it, and then the mom catches them, and she kind of just turns a blind eye, and she just like ignores it. And then there's a scene where like the dad is in the bathtub, and the son barges in, and the dad is screaming, and the mom is just like turning up the TV, just kind of ignoring it. And it's like, it's really fucked up. Like I think that was one of the first things Ari Aster made, and it's just like kind of
He has got issues.
Yeah, he is.
I'd keep an eye on that guy.
Yeah, I would love to be his therapist.
Oh my god.
Like,
I mean, there's mommy and daddy issues there.
Yeah, for sure. I really, I just
I'd be
really.
interested to see an interview of him.
Oh yeah, and he's kind of a normal guy, you know. He's a pretty like.
Obviously
Well,
not.
I mean, not like. He just like seems like a normal guy, you know. He doesn't. You would never.
Most people seem normal.
Well, I know, but there's like directors who have fucked up movies, and you're like, oh yeah, you see an interview of him, then you're like, yeah, that guy's fucked up. But you see Ari Aster, and you'd think he's Steven Spielberg. You're like, he's just a normal.
Yeah, okay.
No, really, he's like a pretty normal guy. Like most fucked up movie directors, they're kind of like off, and you can kind of tell. But like Ari Aster, he seems like a chill guy.
Anyways, I'm sure people want to hear more about the actual movie.
Well, I mean, I think we've covered mostly about it. I mean, I think I think when you watch movies like this, especially after Beau's Afraid, you just kind of think about the director and how he gets to this point.
I used to never think about the director. Never.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I didn't either, but Ari Aster really is like...
I mean, I think it's since being with you that you've pointed out the directors, because I never paid attention to directors before. Even though it is a huge part of the movie.
Yeah.
Especially Ari Aster, written and directed.
Yeah, he write. I mean, obviously this is written by him.
Right.
No one else would come up with shit like this.
Yeah. Same with Beau's Afraid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he is the background of this.
Yeah, he's
movie,
he's the
story.
he's the curator. He's like
He's a creator.
He's a creator. And that's why
Solely.
I think that's why people don't really pay attention to directors nowadays, is because most movies nowadays are franchises and sequels and all that shit, and there's only like a handful of like Scorsese's and Tarantino's and Finchers that are still making like movies that where you watch them, you're like, oh, this is a Scorsese movie, or this is a David Fincher movie, or this is a Tarantino movie, or this is a fucking Ari Aster movie. Like when you watch his movie, you're like, yeah, this is his movie.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool that there are directors like Scorsese that are attributing their pacing to Ari Aster. I think he's not getting I think Ari Aster is definitely getting his flowers and a praise from the horror community, but I think he should be respected more as like a filmmaker from the general audience.
Yeah, probably.
He's, I think, a one-of-a-kind filmmaker.
I think he is the most thought-provoking.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's like, it's effortless. Like, it's not really like...
I doubt it's effortless.
Well, no, I mean, like, not effortless, but like, it doesn't feel like forced. You know, like there's a one director who made this movie called Mother. It's Jennifer Lawrence, and the director. I
think you talked about it after Beau's Afraid.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, but it felt more, and it's the director, I think, of Black Swan, and I think that's his best movie. But I think like with Mother, he was just trying too hard to be thought provoking and to be kind of like Ari Aster. I mean, I think that came out before Hereditary, but I think it was just like it was trying too much. And with Hereditary, it doesn't feel like that. With Midsommar, it doesn't feel like that. With Beau's Afraid, it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like he's just making whatever the fuck he wants to make.
Yeah.
And
he's not giving you a thought. He's making you think.
Exactly. Yeah. He's just kind of putting out what he wants to put, and you know, you're just that's your reaction. You know, you're not really being told what to think. Because I mean, there's a million ways to interpret this movie and Beau's Afraid. Interpret.
There you go.
Interpret this movie and Beau's Afraid. I think Beau's Afraid especially. I think we both had different takeaways from that movie.
From Beau's Afraid?
Yeah.
Probably.
Because I didn't really pick up on the mom stuff.
Oh, that was huge.
Well, I mean, I picked up on it, but it wasn't like the center of the movie for me.
But it is.
I mean, yeah. I mean, in your eyes it is, but I think it's more like...
The movie starts out with talking about his mom, and issues that
True.
he has with her.
And him coming out of the womb.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Well, and then her yelling at him that he wouldn't breastfeed and like.
That was something when I heard that scene, I immediately thought of this movie. When they mentioned breastfeeding
Oh.
and how about
because
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, second movie he talks about breastfeeding.
Yeah. Makes me think what
Second
it
movie
is.
that a mother finds their kid dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second movie with severe mental illness.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are definitely like huge themes happening
yeah.
so far of the Ari Aster.
And I think that's why I appreciate Midsommar more in hindsight, is because it's a lot different from Hereditary.
I'd be curious to see it, I guess.
And Beau is Afraid. Yeah, I think you would enjoy it, but it touches on a lot more than I think Beau is Afraid and Hereditary does. Not more, but just different stuff.
I feel like if we're gonna continue doing this, we need to have like questions after the movie to have some sort of like structure of what we talk about.
What do you mean?
Well, like I feel like in podcasts you'll have like a structure to break down episodes, break down whatever you're watching.
Questions.
Or just like a outline of what you talk about.
Oh, like themes and
Yeah, like what did you think of,
X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had that in my head, like when the movie's end, like I'm gonna ask about this and this and that.
Right. I'm saying like we should have like specific questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with this movie it was fine. I mean, just like kind of going off into what we thought about certain things.
Sure. I'm just saying like
For the
moving
future.
forward.
Yeah.
We should have a list of things that we talk about.
Yeah. I think for a while, until we see Midsommar, this will be the most we talk about a movie after we watch it. Because I want to watch The Exorcist maybe next year for Halloween. And I think Donnie Darko would definitely be like that, because there's so much to like dissect in that movie. Every time I watch it, I pick something up from it. It's such a unique movie. But yeah, I literally cannot wait for his next movie.
Ari Aster.
Yeah, I think he is my favorite film director as of right now. Obviously, I think Tarantino is like one of my all-time favorites, just because I've watched him like my whole life.
Yeah.
But Ari Aster, like I will watch anything he makes.
I mean, he definitely has a voice.
Yeah, and like
a perspective.
Yeah, and he's like one of the few directors that are like making weird shit that people are gonna watch no matter what. Like most people will not watch Beau is Afraid, like the general audience. And I think most people who watched it because they saw.
I'd say they'd watch it either because they know it's Ari Aster.
Exactly.
And they're Ari
Like
Aster
you would have
fans,
never.
Or they're Joaquin Phoenix fans.
Yeah, like you would have never thought about watching that movie.
No. Well, there was no like media about it.
Oh yeah, it kind of went under the radar. I think Midsommar and Hereditary were more.
I definitely saw stuff for that, but since I've never really been into horror movies, I don't
Pay
like
attention.
to watch the trailers. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, it's a good movie in the sense that it makes you think.
Hereditary?
Yeah.
Would you rate this, or would you?
It'd have to have its own sort of scale. I guess not. I think I'd rate it higher just because it makes you think so much.
Hereditary?
Yeah.
Over Beau is Afraid?
No, I wasn't comparing it. I was just saying movies in general.
Oh, movies in general. Yeah. Well, I was saying because you've only seen those two, what would you rate higher? Not on like what's more thought provoking, but what you think is a better film.
A better movie.
Yeah, like what you enjoyed more, I guess. Because I think Beau is Afraid is a lot different. Like it's a whole different animal.
And yet the same.
Yeah, but it has so much more material.
Plus, Beau is Afraid is longer.
Yeah, exactly. It has an hour more.
Yeah.
Like it has so much more.
I'd say probably Hereditary, but they're like the same in my mind.
Really?
Yeah. You have the same sort of like thought process afterwards where he leaves you on a what the fuck? And then you sit there and you think and you think and you think and you think about all these different things.
Yeah.
And you start like piecing it together.
Yeah, I think when I first saw this movie, it was like for weeks I was like, what the fuck was that ending? Like why was it like that?
Well, I think it would be good to see it again where you know where it's going.
Exactly.
And so you start to pick up more in the storyline so you can piece more together.
Yeah, cuz like
yeah.
Watching it now, I was more like just anticipating what your reaction was going to be, not like the end of the movie because I've obviously seen it before. But with Beau's Afraid, it was like that exact feeling I had with Hereditary the first time I saw it, where I watched the ending and I'm like, what the actual fuck did I just watch? Like, what?
Well, especially because he leaves you like so close to the what the fuck moment of like, okay.
Yeah.
And like that moment in Hereditary is her floating.
Yeah.
And, sawing off her own head.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets to the extreme. So you're left in that moment of like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because that's how I felt like when he got to the boat area in Beau's Afraid. I was like, where is this going?
Where is this going?
And then when the credits were rolling, I was like, are you fucking serious right now?
Yeah. It ends like that.
Yeah.
The same with this. Like, it's a cult? What the fuck?
Yeah.
They're in the treehouse?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And I guess that's why Charlie would sleep in there, because that was her.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember the ending of Midsommar, but I'm trying to remember if I had that feeling where it was just like, just being left in like awe, like just in confusion of like what I just saw. I don't really remember. I'd have to see it again. I vaguely remember.
I
like,
think
the
we'll have
last
to
act.
watch that.
Yeah.
We'll have to do like all the Ari Aster movies.
Well, there's only one. I do want to watch Beau.
There's only one?
Well, he only has 3 feature-length films.
Oh.
So he has Hereditary is the first one, Midsommar is the second one, Beau's Afraid is the last. But they came out pretty similar. I think this was 2016 or 2018, and Midsommar was before 2020 because I watched it in LA. So it was like probably 2018, 2019, and then this was Beau's Afraid was 2023. And that was obviously such a big beast. Like, it took more time.
He's gotten... who's in Midsummer?
Florence Pugh. Pugh?
Is it Summer or Summer?
Summer. It's Midsommar, I think. Midsommar.
Okay.
And they pronounce it like
Who's
that in the
in
movie. Do you remember the girl that's naked in every scene in Oppenheimer? The one that Oppenheimer's fucking?
I remember that he's fucking a girl. I don't remember who she is.
Well, you might have not seen her or anything else, but that's the main character.
Oh.
The girl that is like when they're having the conference and she's like naked on him when he's like hallucinating or whatever the fuck that is, that's her.
Okay.
So she's in. And I remember when I told you that when we watched Oppenheimer, I was like, I'd always wanted to see her naked, but I was like,
yeah.
I remember I told you like
you had a crush on her.
I had a crush on her after Midsommar because I was like, she's cute. And then when I saw her naked, I was like, oh, that was not at all what I expected.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying he's had really good
actors.
Yeah,
because I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is
huge,
one of the best actors of all time. Toni Collette is amazing.
Is amazing.
And I did want to talk about Alex Wolff's performance.
Oh yeah.
I think it's kind of hit or miss. I think his crying is super ugly and
he's not a good fake crier.
It's not very believable, but I think the scene, what I appreciated out of this viewing is when Charlie gets decapitated from the pole, his reaction is so like, it's pretty like grounded, like.
Yeah.
It feels authentic. Like, I can believe that's how someone would react. That's probably how I would react. I'd just be in silence.
See, okay.
I mean, I know we approach things differently.
I know we do, but I think most people in that situation would not do what he did.
Like drive off.
Yeah.
I think, but I mean, initially when she gets decapitated, they might sit there in silence and be like,
Well, yeah, you're sitting there thinking like, what the fuck would I do if I saw that?
well, yeah, it's just like, what's the next move? Like, do you go out, pick up the head?
911.
I guess that's
I
not
would not move. I would call 911 and just sit there.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not look. I would not. Mm-mm. If I knew what happened, I would not look.
Well, that's what he does. He like
I looked away.
that's what. Well,
I didn't want to see that.
when he looks up.
Yeah.
Well, in the movie, he kind of like glances up and it's his POV. He looks up at the mirror and then he like shoots back.
Mhm.
They don't show the body, but they show like half.
Well, they had another scene where he did that again in class. He was seeing it.
Oh yeah. But I don't think they show the body in that scene either. But
They show like a shoulder.
yeah, but in the scene where it happens, he glances up and then it darts back before they show. I don't think they really show her body.
I mean, you already know what happens, but yeah, I would.
And I was hesitant telling you to look away when they because I know that they showed the head.
Yeah.
So I was like, should I tell her to look away or should I just let her embrace it? It's pretty gnarly. Like
That is gnarly.
yeah.
I mean, all I have to do is know that, like, I don't know. I just have to imagine the fake version of it, and I think it's okay.
Oh, like this isn't real.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking about, like, you know, the fake head that's in the movie that they use.
Yeah.
It's obviously not a real
Yeah.
head.
And I saw the head. I think it looks.
They can make things look pretty.
It genuinely looks worse in person.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Like just the mouth and like.
Do they have the ants all over it?
No, they didn't have the ants all over it.
Oh,
I think that's why maybe because you can see more details in the
probably.
head. But yeah, it's truly disturbing. I think that shot is one of the most like visceral, disturbing shots.
I mean, you just imagine like killing your sister like that.
Yeah. It's pretty gnarly. And I think there's a couple of shots like that in Midsommar which are pretty fucked up. There's like one scene towards the like the third act where it's like this is pretty gruesome. And then there's
You're spoiling it.
well, I'm not, well, it's not like on that level. It's just it's a different gruesome. What's that?
Cooper.
Oh, the dog. Oh my lord. She doesn't care. I don't know why she's screaming.
She's counting like it's a child. Okay. Anyways, that will probably sit with me, like just remembering that happens in this movie for sure.
The decapitation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what most people not took away from the movie, but that's what sticks out with most people and sits with most people, for sure.
Well, in The Office, they talk about decapitation. Michael's boss gets killed in a car accident because he was
Oh
decapitated.
yeah.
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 And you just think about like
That's like one of the worst ways. Well, I mean, that's not the worst way to go because it's instant, but it's pretty gruesome.
it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. There's a lot to say, but also not.
Yeah, I think we'll probably think about it more on the car ride to my mom's. but,
Yeah.
I mean, off initial reactions, I think we got most of it. I think, because I mean, like I said, when I first saw this movie, I thought about it for weeks, and when I saw Beau's Afraid, I mean, I still think about a lot of the scenes in
I
that
don't
movie.
think about a lot with Beau's Afraid.
Really?
I mean, for a while I did, but then I've kind of stopped thinking.
Pieced
about
everything together.
It. No, I just stopped thinking about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I still think about it pretty often.
Which scenes?
I think mostly when he's in the play and he's like walking through and he's trying to find his kids and just like the delusions he has in the beginning of the movie where his house or his apartment's getting raided. Because it's like, you know, I obviously know people who have those kind of hallucinations, and it's just like, damn, that's pretty gnarly to be in that headspace,
Yeah.
to have that fear.
Yeah.
And even the scene where he's trying to get water and like the tap isn't working, and then he tries
he's
he,
going to the
he tries
store.
to go to the store and his car's declined and he can't get any water, and
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, that's paranoia, like on like at the worst.
Paranoia and hallucination.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
the worst combination for sure.
Well, and I would say that movie, I think, is a lot about anxiety too.
Oh yeah.
Like a huge part about all of what he's going through is anxiety, and that's why it starts off with like talking to his mom. We're not talking about Beau Afraid. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there are things that still sit with you, but I don't know. I kind of stopped thinking about it unless I specifically think about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't just like pop up in my brain like The Office does all the time.
Well, I just think like The Office, there's so much content. Like, there's so much to think about. But with Beau's Afraid, it's his longest movie. It's 3 hours. There's just so many things to think about in that movie compared to Hereditary. I think it's stuck with me longer just because I feel like I've kind of gone over everything in Hereditary. And I've only seen Beau's Afraid once. I saw Hereditary a week after I saw it the first time. And I've only seen Beau's Afraid once, so I'm like trying to piece together things I saw from that first viewing. So I don't have as much context as I do as when I saw Hereditary, and even Midsummer. I've seen that multiple times. What?
I think that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah.
We gotta get going.
Yeah, we're already late. What?
Are you still recording?
Yeah. So, what, you think I turned it off with my brain?
No.
That was 3 hours.
Jeez.